Buffalo Board of Education is responding to a police detective's allegations against the district. They will conduct an independent investigation. After spending about 2.5 hours in executive session, Buffalo School Board members emerged Monday night from behind closed doors, saying they take allegations made by Buffalo Police Detective Richard High very seriously. High accuses the district of covering up cases of child abuse and sexual assault.
The Board of Education takes allegations about the well-being of our students seriously. The BOE is initiating an independent external investigation, and the results will be shared publicly.
As the superintendent of the Buffalo Public Schools, I need to say that I wholeheartedly support everything that our board president and our board members have shared this evening.
The board is not allowed to comment on any ongoing investigations. However, 3 school board members and Superintendent Dr. Tanja Williams-Knight did say they do not know Detective High and were shocked by what was said on the podcast. The superintendent also defended the district's response to any alleged case of abuse.
There is not a single parent concern that has come to my attention during my tenure in this position that has not been addressed, oftentimes by me personally.
That if they do have concerns, real concerns, that they reach out to the superintendent, that they reach out to board members so that we are informed of those concerns.
Now, I did ask board members and the superintendent if they've been inundated by calls from parents, and they said yes, indeed they have. At City Hall, Eileen Buckley, 7 News.
Good morning, Owasso. This is the Twins with Owasso Live, and this is the Morning Loop. So one of my favorite content creators, Angry Cops. He is a drill sergeant in the Army National Guard up in New York, and he is also a detective. And he went on his friend's podcast, a podcast called The Unsubscribed Podcast, with some of the best creators on YouTube, like Donut Operator, who is a police officer or was a police officer, and former Navy or Air Force security officer, or security guard, basically. Then you have Fat Electrician, who's one of the best content creators on YouTube, tells history stories. And you have Brendan Herrera, the AK guy, who builds and machines his own AK-47s. And you have Angry Cops himself. So with this, they did a separate segment whenever he was on the show that was all by itself, and he was basically accusing the Buffalo City Public Schools of covering up child abuse scandals inside their own school systems. And again, this is not surprising. I mean, like, again, the public school systems are not great. And again, the mechanisms that protect the public schools, they don't exist to protect children. They exist to serve themselves. It's like a union. Unions don't actually exist to help the people. They exist to serve themselves. Again, it's like a story I told you whenever my friend was trying to get a job in theater, and he was debating whether or not he wanted to join the union, but then he realized all the salary raises and stuff he got he didn't get to see the benefits of it. They just went to the union. So again, the unions don't exist to serve you. They exist to serve themselves. Same goes for the public teachers union. Same with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on here. Like lawyers are basically telling the teachers and stuff, well, there's too much. Again, out of fear of being the school systems being sued, they just go, don't talk to these people. And whenever cases of abuse happen, just say we'll do independent studies. And again, there's nothing scarier than someone going, we will have a independent, or not even an independent, a internal investigation. There's nothing scarier than an internal investigation, because what does it mean? It's like if I do something bad over here at this office, and like I cheat a tenant or something else, oh, don't worry, tenant, I'll do a internal investigation and make sure I'm not cheating you out of anything. Mm-hmm. So you mean you're going to commission a group of people who are for you that you're paying to investigate yourself?
Yeah. Well, it's the exact same thing that happened at colleges, like especially back during the
Obama era.
Yeah, the early 2000 Obama era that you're talking about, where sexual assaults were like not running rampant, but there were a bunch of sexual assault accusations, and guys were literally just, because the school would do an internal investigation and just kick the kid out of school, kick the boy out of school, and the girl would stay. And then later on you find out, oh, the girl lied. Well, the guy's reputation is ruined.
Well, it doesn't even matter, too, because the people that they did these internal investigations for, it was a panel of just random people that worked at the college. Like, it could be a professor, it could be a administration staff, it could be a janitor who were like on these boards.
Deans? It's usually a dean.
Yeah, it's usually people of authority, not going to be
but
like...
still, like, these aren't police officers. Like, that's why everyone who's ever been told, like, nowadays, like, if someone ever accuses you of some impropriety at college, call the police.
Just go call the police and get a lawyer.
Because the internal investigation, they're just going to kick you out of school.
Yeah, the school doesn't want to handle it. The school doesn't want the smoke. The school doesn't want the bad PR. Same goes, and like I said, now you're seeing it inside the public school level. They don't want this smoke. They go, we cannot have these kids and these parents suing the school district. We don't want to pay that money. Because of the fact that we left school doors open and kids were nearly kidnapped out of the school, we don't want to take responsibility for that. That's what's going on here. It's a bunch of people going, well, those doors weren't locked, so it's not like it was the teacher's fault or anybody's fault that we left these doors unlocked and a guy came in and tried to abduct 2 children. And that's the thing, too. In what Richard Heyer, Angry Cops was saying, he was basically like, they only admitted that one of the kids was attempted to be kidnapped. And then, like, this one kid peed his pants. So it was a boy and a girl. He was trying to kidnap. This random guy came in and tried to kidnap a boy and a girl. And they only took responsibility or only admitted that the girl, but it took him a long time to admit it. And then the boy peed himself because he was so scared. And like I said, these are little kids. Like we're talking elementary school, 7, 8, 9. And the kid peed himself, and the parents came to pick him up. And they're like, why did my kid wet his pants? And the school's like, oh, you'll have to talk to somebody else. That's not our department. We can't tell you why your kid peed himself. And again, they attempted to delete footage of the incident.
Yep.
And like I said, sources within the school showed Richard High and told Richard High what they were doing.
Luckily, some teacher or administrator staff there was like, had the moral conscience enough to record it on their cell phone and save it and then sent it to him personally, which means that this was a concluded effort to hide that this had happened, because that is an embarrassment for the schools. Like, imagine that school board being like, our kids aren't safe in this school.
Yeah. And now they're trying to I watched several news segments about this, and some of them are basically saying that Richard High is a hothead and he instigates situations and makes things too aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're trying to discredit him by saying that he's a hothead cop. And it's like, if you've ever been a police officer, you've ever been in an intense situation where you're trying to control a suspect or get somebody to do what you want, do you think that someone you're trying to arrest is going to do what you want them to do? You think they're just going to comply? Or do you think they're going to try to do whatever they want to get away from you? It's like, of course the people you arrest and put in jail are going to say, he was mean to me and he was too aggressive.
Well, again, yeah, exactly. Like, you mean a police officer was forceful with a suspect? Who would have guessed that would ever happen?
Who would have guessed somebody tried to resist arrest and then they would accuse them later of being bad? Again, I'm sure that there's body cam footage of it too.
It's the other thing we talk about all the time too, is like, nobody likes the police. When you get pulled over, you don't like the police. Even though you support the police, you're like, you do not like the police in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nobody likes the police. The only time that people like the police is when you're calling them for help.
Yep.
That is the only time people like police.
So again, this is, a guy who's trying to help kids. Like I mean, literally, his job is he's in the special victims unit, effectively, of the investigators, and he is attempting to call the school out, and now he's getting punished for it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I said they're trying to reputation destroy him.
And trying to reputation destroy him, but that's just par for the course, right?
Mm-hmm.
Par for the course right now. But as for the rest of this, is like, we've already know that school administrators and lawyers, especially unions, will keep things under wraps. Like what we talked about with the guy that we saw that was a teacher here in Owasso. We won't say his name or anything, even though I think he should be spread out all over the place. Is a guy who was accused, like I said, accused of
allegedly
sexual, impropriety with one of his students
in California.
Yeah. Oh, I said, no, well, here, but then we go and let's go look at this guy. Cause like all of a sudden it's like, the only reason we knew about it is cause like he had insurance with us, and he's like, I got to move. I'm moving. And you're just like, oh, what's wrong? He's like, some incident happened at school and I've got to move. And you're just like, okay. But then you go back, you look this guy's name up, and go, there is a common repeat history thread of this guy at several other schools going all the way back to California.
Again, the union just assumes, well, it's not his fault. We got to protect him because he's part of the union. He can't be the problem. And again, you look at it from like you're looking at like a single mom or a bad girl. It's a girl that has no self-awareness. It's like there's a reoccurring pattern with all of your ex-boyfriends and all of your ex-husbands. What's that? You. Like, we had a conversation with one of our former employees.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, my ex-husband was a piece of crap. My first husband was a piece of crap. My second husband was a piece of crap. My third husband's a piece of crap.
And I looked at her and I said, did all of them get married shortly after they broke up with you? And she's like, yeah. Are they still married to that woman? Yeah. Seems to be a reoccurring pattern in your relationships.
Yeah, exactly. Again, no self-awareness, no taking of no self-responsibility. And again, this is the fact that he came out on this and this news got spread out so far and wide on this podcast is great. Again, these are some heavy-hitting guys on YouTube right now. So it's good that he's willing to put his job and career on the line. Like so two things will happen. He said they're either going to flat out fire me or they're going to put me on administrative leave for 10 years and force me to quit. Like, because he's doing the right thing and coming out and being like, these school systems are hurting kids and they're not protecting kids. They're protecting themselves from lawsuits.
Exactly. I said, this is why the education system needs to be completely destroyed. It's too powerful. It has too many lawyers and people that are willing to, do this. And I agree with what he says. He even talks about it. He goes, I think that it's the lawyers scaring the teachers. He goes, I think the teachers would probably cooperate with me. But I think the lawyers come in and go, you could lose your job over this.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, I don't want to lose my job.
Again, if there aren't people willing to do the right thing, and this is why whistleblowers are so important. It's like, if you're not willing, if you know that things that are happening in the company or the business you work for are wrong, bad, and downright evil, you got to come out and say it. You got to be willing to be like, hey, I'll fall on this sword, and again, that job, sure, it may pay well, but there's other things you can do with your life.
Exactly. Well, here is the statement put out by Buffalo Public Schools like a few days after this. Let's see, this came out 3 days ago, and then the school put out this statement on April 26th. So what is today? It's the 29th, right? So, yeah, they put it out same day.
30th.
The 30th, yeah. So basically the day after or whatever. Anyway. But it says here, statement from the Buffalo Public Schools, Buffalo, New York, April 26, 2025. The Buffalo Public School District is aware of an unfortunate and recent allegation circulating in an online video. The district is prepared to vigorously address these untruths. I love how they see the words untruths. Sounds so stupid. The district has prioritized the safety and security of its students and staff every day. Buffalo Public Schools, BPS, is the second largest school district in New York with some 60 schools, 30,000 students, and 7,000 and any transgressions that may have been handled swiftly and seriously. Integrate fairness and empathy. We're handled with integrity, fairness, and empathy. Sorry, that's hard to read right there.
Yeah, it's small.
And then the last one I have here is the Buffalo Public Schools maintains a close and professional relationship with the Buffalo Police Department and as means to ensure the safety as its top priority.
Again, a non-statement put out by the public schools, written by lawyers, that means nothing. It means nothing. Like, these statements that these schools and any businesses put out publicly, like, they're non-statements. They're nothing. They're less than nothing. It's really sad, really pathetic. It's like, come out and speak your mind. You know what I mean? That's why again, people love authenticity. That's why people are going to side with Drill Sergeant High here over the public schools, because that's a non-statement. He's telling the truth. He's speaking his mind and telling people what they want to hear. People love authenticity. That's why people like Trump. He's an authentic candidate. He's an authentic person.
I love this. Someone already added community notes to this. The untruths are the facts presented by the active Buffalo PD SVU detective, meaning angry cops. The Buffalo schools deleted evidence of an attempted child abduction, did not inform the child's parents, and deliberately obstructed police investigation. And I think they just linked to the Unsubscribed podcast. Yes, they do. That's exactly what I'm playing up here if you're watching in the top right corner, which
Sweet.
I will link this video and tag it in our YouTube video.
Again, this is what happens when organizations get too big. They don't exist to serve the purpose that they were created for. They don't care about serving kids. They don't care about educating your kids. These organizations exist to defend themselves. Again, the reason that this lawyer statement was put out is because they don't want to get sued. They are protecting the school district from lawsuits because they don't want to pay a multi-million-dollar suit because they lied to parents about what happened to their kids.
Yep.
I mean, imagine if somebody just came into the Owasso public schools today and just grabbed a kid and another kid out of a classroom and said, hey, I'm taking these kids out. And it's like, who are you? I mean, that's crazy.
Yep. And by the way, I forgot, this part's kind of funny, but this was a repost from Brandon Herrera posting this from Buffalo Schools. And it says, you guys know what to do. Nobody puts angry cops in the corner.
Yeah. Again, this is good stuff. This is awesome to see the community come together and trying to again, this is why the public school systems need to be destroyed. They need to be destroyed and rebuilt from the ground up. Education is about kids, and it's about protecting kids, and it's about getting kids the best education that they can possibly get. It's not about the school districts and the school administrators and the school officials protecting the school from lawsuits.
Yeah. You would think that. You would think that that's what they'd want.
That's what the lawyers are doing. They don't care about they don't care about the kids. They don't care about this incident. It's
They're-
all
the
about
lawyer's
how do we
job-
save as
yeah.
much money for the school as
The
possible.
lawyer's job is to protect their client. And in their client in this case is the public school system, the teachers' unions, and the teachers themselves. They are not there for the students. The students are their enemy, especially if it's an allegation against a student. So in the very extreme case of a teacher assaulting a student, the lawyer and the union people are not on the side of the student. They are on the side of the teacher.
Again, in this exact scenario, Richard High told a story about a girl that's father was a member of the Bloods, and he beat his daughter, and she came in school bruised up one day, and she told the school counselor or something, goes, yeah, I get beat up by my dad. And they were like, we don't believe you because we know that you're a known liar. And again, kids, young kids lie and exaggerate about stuff all the time. Then she came and showed a video of her dad beating her, and then they looked at the video, and then they came back to the girl later and they said, so is this you in the video? And she was like, yeah, that's me. My dad beats me all the time. And then they were like, we still don't believe you.
Yeah.
Video footage, and you still have counselors and teachers, and they're like, we don't believe this.
Yep.
I mean, like, yeah, you get this little 8 to 10-year-old kid created an AI video of her getting beat up by her dad.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it also talks about the fact that you need to take extreme ownership. Mm-hmm. Is like I guess you could assume that, oh well, she probably reported this to somebody else. Never assume.
Yeah.
Never assume, especially when it comes to kids.
And again, could this be, since her dad's a Blood, like this is one of those minority things, like, well, we don't want another black man going to jail kind of things.
Yeah, it could easily be that case. But I have a bunch of memes here, unless there's anything else that you wanted to talk about regarding
No,
this
I mean,
before we
I
move
would
on.
love to have just done an entire breakdown of the video and just
So,
let
we can
Richard
do
Hyde
that.
speak for himself, but we can...
We can do that later this week, just since we kind of running short on time today. But
Yeah.
here's just a bunch of clips, usually from Libs of TikTok, but of school board meetings, and this is proof that the school system and the schools are not on the side of you or your children, and this is proof of that.
Yes. This whole thing with Richard Hyde, it's not just an indictment of the public school systems. It should be an indictment of the entire public school education system
as a whole.
Period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, yeah, check these memes out. I've got a whole bunch of these. I said usually school board meetings gone wrong. And if you know, we've been harping on this for forever. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I can't tell you how many of these videos we've played about school boards doing things that the parents in the community is not cool with, but guess what? They're better than you. They're smarter than you. They know better than you. Mm-hmm. So check this out.
California last month, where a trans student entered the women's locker room and flashed the girls there. When they confronted him, he mercilessly beat them. This happened again in Gwinnett County, Georgia. This happened again in Oklahoma City. This happened again in Ohio, where a trans man was allowed to use the locker room where he was arrested for flashing little girls. The judge dropped the charges after he ruled that this man was too fat for them to see anything. In this city, a man using they, them pronouns hunted down and killed a female jogger because he, quote, wanted to look just like her. You will no longer be able to look into the eyes of your constituents and honestly say that you are unaware of the assaults that inevitably take place when we declare to women, you have no right to privacy. You assured us that these policies were perfectly safe. See, Loudoun County, Virginia, a trans student was allowed into the women's bathroom where he assaulted a girl.
Yeah,
they
he did.
moved him
I
to
don't
another
think we
school
watched all of
where
it.
he did it again. See,
Again, but
Irvine,
yeah,
California.
that's what they do. They let them move to another school where they do it again because they want to keep, they're protecting, in this case, they were protecting a trans student's rights. You know, just like, how come this trans kid has the right to assault and molest other students?
This is why we don't make rules for the outliers. We make rules for the rule. The majority of students. We make rules for the majority of people. We don't make rules and laws for the outlier. Again, I identify as trans. Well, you're just going to have to go to the same place you changed installed in there. Yeah, sure, guys are probably going to make fun of you or, wait till nobody's in there, but tough, and again, we don't want, because this is exactly what's going to happen. You're going to have sexual degenerates who get off on the idea of pretending that they're a woman, still attracted to females though, and then abusing females in that locker room.
There is I forget what it's called. I've heard what it's called.
It's a fetish, yeah.
But there's a fetish out there, and it's a kink, like that they get off on people staring at them, thinking that they're a woman, and just like her, not even thinking, but just the fact that they're dressed like a woman and having people stare at them, you're just like, that's creepy and disgusting.
Yeah, it's just, I want attention.
Yeah. But then here's another one is like Democrats in Florida are opposing the bill that would remove pornographic books from schools. And and all they're going to do is call this conservatives are wanting to ban and burn books. And like I said, that's not the case. It's books that have explicitly graphic material not suitable for children. Like Democrats are not okay with Playboys. Like I said, they've had this, Tim Pool and several other commentators have had conversations like, would you allow a Playboy in a public library? And they're like, no. And there's like, then why are these books in there? These books are worse than that.
Yeah, it's worse than just women posing scantily. It's teaching kids how to do sexual acts in cartoon form.
And explicitly describing how to do it.
Or use
images.
Gay dating apps.
Yeah, that was one of them too.
Again, go ahead and just play it.
This bill is not about protecting children. It's about exerting additional control over what our kids are allowed to read and are allowed to learn.
It's only going to cause more in the courts, more money it's going to cost us. Please vote down on this bill.
Voting no on HB 1539 is not a vote for inappropriate content. It's a vote against broad overreach and censorship that undermines educators, restricts students' intellectual development, and diminishes the quality of public education in Florida.
And for me, this bill is not about
So again, they're going to accuse us, people on the right, for banning books and being Nazis and burning books like the Nazis would have done back in the day. But guess what? We're talking about, again, if we can have these in public school, let's just put Playboy magazines in public school too. Yeah. Let the boys look at the Playboy magazines. It's no big deal. There's no difference. In fact, that's not true either. The Playboy magazines are probably far less graphically disgusting.
Yeah, literally, what does a Playboy normally do? It's like an article. It's pictures of girls, and it describes what they like to do in their free time, aside from being whore.
Yeah, but again, the books that they're wanting in there are books that teach kids how to do illicit sexual acts. Again, these people, they have no morality, they have no morals, they have no moral compass. They just want to accuse you of being the worst thing that you can be, and a Nazi book burner because you don't think that a gay, how to be gay and do sexual acts book shouldn't be allowed in public schools for young kids. Graphic novel versions of the books too.
Yep. But this next one I have here is a lady whose son came home after taking a mandatory test at his school that confused him about his sexuality and who he was. Check this out.
Came home last week, clearly shaken up, and asked to privately talk to me. He said, "Mom, we took a test today at school, but the questions were really weird. I didn't know how to answer them. I didn't want to take the test. but my teachers made me.
What was the big deal? I mean, this survey couldn't have been that bad, right? Let's take a look. Your sexual orientation is not the same as your gender identity. Which of the following best describes your orientation? Straight or heterosexual, lesbian or gay, asexual, bisexual, pansexual, queer. I am not sure. Questioning. I do not know what this question means. I prefer not to answer. I'll say I prefer not to answer. The next question asks about your gender identity. Gender identity is how you see yourself. Questions for middle schoolers, right? Does this survey fall under inclusivity, education? When did it become acceptable for adults to present information like this to minors on taxpayer-funded school time?
My son came home last week, clearly shaking.
Yeah, 100% agree with what she just said there. And again, imagine so the answer's they're gonna, a kid answers not sure how to answer. They probably put that kid in the category of LGBTQ or trans,
or had frickin' professors or some sort of health expert come in do we need to talk to you about your sexuality? Are you confused about
it's
what
not
you
even
are?
that. Imagine if the kid knows, no, I'm just a regular little boy, but I don't know how to answer these questions, so you just answer the bottom one because it's the only one that makes sense to you, it's I'm not sure because I don't know what any of this stuff means. And when you answer that way, they throw you in the LGBTQ category. So these confusing tests, guess what they do? It increases the population or the recorded population of LGBTQ people because it's they answered this way because they're too afraid to answer truthfully.
Yeah,
So
they're scared of their parents.
Yeah. So I mean, this is the BS stuff. It's why we instead of they're 0.1% of the population now, why they're 2% of the population now, because there are tons of kids who are answering these surveys in schools going, look, Generation Z or whatever, or whatever generation they are now, the youngest group of kids, they're so queer. They're all so queer. Not only because of the culture and media saying it's okay to be queer, but they don't know how to answer these stupid questionnaires. So they answer not sure how to answer, and they go, see, they're confused about their gender identity. Therefore, they're part of the community now.
Could easily be the case, yeah, because that's the thing. If you look at most of those surveys that ask you, do you agree that climate change is real or whatever, it's they word them just like I just asked it. So people, and even conservatives, yeah, climate change is real because yeah, the climate's always changing, but do they believe that man-made climate change is going to kill everyone? If you were to word it like that, then conservatives answer no.
Yeah.
That's the problem is do you believe in climate change? Well, yeah, you're going to get a yes. That's how these surveys that go out, they're see, look, 100% of people agree with climate change. It's the same thing with healthcare. Do you agree that everyone should have health care? It goes, if you ask it that vaguely, yes. Conservatives will say, yeah, everybody should have health care. Because, but we're not going to pay for it. You say, do you think that everyone should have government mandated taxpayer, paid health care? They're going to, no.
Yeah.
They're going to absolutely say no. But that's how these surveys and stuff work. It's how they manipulate the data.
Yeah. Again.
Yeah, but here's this next one. This lady right here, I think she is going to homeschool her kids because of what she's been hearing about rumors through what's going on with her school board.
Lily Weichbrot. I'm a mom of 2 in Fairfax County. This is my oldest. And my husband and I have a difficult decision to make this fall as he is approaching preschool age, and we are faced with the decision of whether or not we are going to put our child in public school system where Fairfax County has decided to move forward with instituting gender studies in elementary school. Despite having done a study group, a focus group in the community to see if parents even wanted this. And when parents said no, the board voted 16-0 and said we're moving forward anyways. This shows clearly that they see parents not as partners, but as an obstacle for their agenda. And I have a really hard time looking at him and going, here, I'm just going to give you over to people who do not want to partner with me in how you're going to be raised. School and education is a huge part of a child's life. And early childhood is supposed to be filled with exploration and creativity and fun, not debating issues that are for adults to handle. These kinds of topics should be introduced sensitively and by parents who are raising their children with their values, not with an ideology passed down from the top. Hi, I'm Kaylee White.
Again,
That lady could not have said it any better.
yeah. Again, how could a school board where every single person that came to the board meeting and all the parents that bring to raise their voice would be like, no, we don't want this being taught, and they vote 16-0. No, we're going to have it taught. There has to be some financial incentives there. Like, I guarantee you, if they said no, if the school board voted no, they probably have some piece of paper from some federal funding place that says, if you don't do this, you will not be receiving federal funding. Yep. And they were like, well, screw that. We're gonna keep funding our positions and our jobs and make sure that our positions are safe and upheld. And again, this is why you have to vote in your local election boards and kick people out who are not going to keep your children's interest at heart. Again, because they're not, at the end of the day, these people aren't school board members. They're social justice activists.
Yes, like I said, remember, it's what we talked about before. It's like, teachers aren't teachers anymore. They're activists. There's like a few teachers there who are there to actually be teachers because they've wanted to be teachers their whole lives. And then the rest of them are either college people who transferred because they sucked at every other, degree that they transferred to, or they're activists.
Yep.
There's no in between.
And they wanted a cushy job where all they had to do was just influence younger people younger than them all day.
Yeah. And then they get every vacation day that every kid gets too. I mean, like everyone acts like teachers work so hard. It's like you have more vacation days as a teacher than like any other job.
Yeah. Yep.
But here's this last one. And this just goes to show you, like, all the schools, at least in New York, are like 100% on board with this whole LGBTQ trans ideology crap.
My mama heart is so full today, and I have you guys to thank for that. Because the kids started school, and they came home so happy. So happy. Like, more than I could have ever asked for. My youngest, who is our non-binary child, mentioned that a lot of the teachers have like safe space stickers on their classroom doors. Our oldest, who is our transgender child, we had to go and sit with the guidance counselor because they're in 11th grade and we had to make sure that everything would align for graduation requirements. So at that time we mentioned, the preferred name being Lilac, and it was no problem. It was done like that. And we told her, we're having it legally changed. And she's like, great, bring that paperwork. That helps when it comes to applying for colleges. But other than that, no big deal. What pronouns do you want to use? We didn't even have to bring it up. It's great. And this is upstate. They're so happy. So, thank you
This woman is a
to everybody
psychopath
who helped make this possible. My mama heart.
She said, well, I have two children, 5 and 7. One is trans and the other is pansexual. And I just thought mathematically right away, it's like the chance you have a trans kid is 1 in 3,000. That's not a very high chance. And let's say the chance that you have a pansexual kid is the same, whatever pansexual means. I don't even know how to calculate those odds. But whatever that is rarer than trans, because no one ever even heard about it until 5 years ago. So the joint probability that you have a trans kid and a pansexual kid is 1 in 9 million. The odds that you're a pathological narcissist sacrificing your own children to the glorification of your compassion is 8,999,999 to 1. So, do you have a trans kid and a pansexual kid, or are you a devouring mother? Well, you can look at the odds and decide for yourself.
Jesus.
She said, well, I have two.
Boom. Jordan Peterson putting it better than I could ever put it. So again, public school systems and the people who run it and the people on the school boards are not your friends. They're not looking out for the interest of your children. And if you think you are fooling yourself. So, again, we stand with Angry Cops and Officer Richard High. I hope that he comes out on top of all this stuff and that the school board suffers big time and that these kids who were involved in all these scandals get massive payouts and their college and their lives will be, they're not going to be, I'm not going to say they're going to be cushy, but they're not have to worry about where their money's coming from for a while.
Yeah.
Again, because lawyers decided to protect the school over protecting children. The teachers were too afraid to come out and say, hey, I want to do the right thing. An officer who just happened to be really good and really enthusiastic about his job had to come out and say, why are you guys deleting video evidence? Why aren't you working with me when I come to ask you about what happened to this poor kid?
Yeah, because they are more, the lawyers and administrative staffs at these schools are more concerned about protecting the school's reputation than they are about protecting children. And that's questions that you as a parent need to ask yourself about your school system. Just like that lady said, goes, does your school system fit my values? I mean, I've heard that, like, homeschooling children has skyrocketed in the United States these last, 5 years because of all this.
Our friend Edgar, the guy that came in and did the Catholic thing, apparently his boys out-test kids twice their age.
Yeah.
Because homeschooling's so effective. So, again, I guess if you put your kids in public schools, you're actually putting them at a disadvantage.
And what does it say is, a kid will only really learn and work for 3 hours, and you send your kid to a place where they're forced to sit in a classroom 90% of the time for 6 to 7 hours.
According to him, he said that his kids get done with the majority of their stuff in the morning, and in the afternoons they're just allowed to free roam and play.
Yep.
So, anyway, just food for thought, folks. We stand with Officer High. We stand with angry cops. And we stand with the angry drill sergeant. So that's about all I've got for you today. This is the Twins with the Owasso Live. This was the Morning Loop. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you too can stay in the loop. But that is all we've got for you today. God bless you.
See you later, everybody.
People talk glibly about science. What is science? People coming out of a university with a master's degree or a PhD, you take them into the field, and they literally don't believe anything unless it's a peer-reviewed paper. It's the only thing they accept. And you say to them, but let's observe, let's think, let's discuss. They don't do it. It's just, is it in a peer-reviewed paper or not? That's their view of science. I think it's pathetic. Gone into universities as bright young people, they come out of them brain dead, not even knowing what science means. They think it means peer-reviewed papers, etc. No, that's academia. And if a paper is peer-reviewed, it means everybody thought the same, therefore they approved it. An unintended consequence is that when new knowledge emerges, new scientific insights, they can never, ever be peer-reviewed. So we're blocking all new advances in science that are big advances. If you look at the breakthroughs in science, almost always they don't come from the center of that profession. They come from the fringe. The finest candle makers in the world couldn't even think of electric lights. They don't come from within. They often come from outside the breaks. We're going to kill ourselves because of stupidity. People talk glibly.